I had to buy an X5, I think this would be the generation I would buy. Another pinch yourself. I know it just seems like an X5, but you have to understand just how special these cars are. They're not, it's not this. It's not this. And driving this is really nice. Hello and welcome to a pretty windy but nice day here in South Carolina at BMW plant Spartanburg. Of course, where BMW X5s have been manufactured, and actually the plant is nearing its 30th anniversary, back when they were building 3 Series as their first vehicle. I didn't realize this, but I share a birthday, November 15th, with BMW plant Spartanburg. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to drive every generation of BMW X5, from the E53 to the E70 to the F15 and then the G05, all back to back. I'm here, and BMW have brought out pretty much one of everything that they have, and they've brought a small collection of BMW X5s all the way from the very first Neiman Marcus sort of catalog only first run of BMW X5s ever. Such a cool opportunity to be able to pull this out of a museum and have a go. Same with all of the generations they brought along for us. So join me as we drive pretty much museum fresh BMW X5s from every generation. Now, excuse some of the wind here, and it's no secret, but I've been a BMW X5 fan my entire life. My mom actually had an E53 generation BMW X5 back in the day. She had the inline 6. Man, did I really want her to get the 4.4 that was in this particular X5. And this is one of the very first Neiman Marcus cars. Is this even a VIND car? Yes, it is. However, the very early production X5s were catalog only ordered, the special edition. We'll be driving this car here in a moment as well, along with the E70 generation there, all seemingly, let's see, that one's a 35i, so that's inline 6, that's V8, this is V8, and then we'll drive the new current generation G05 facelift, the LCI anniversary edition as well. But we're going to go run through the lineup and just experience X5 throughout the years and talk a little bit about its historical impact on the SUV lineup. And I didn't know we were going to do this today, but what a cool experience it was, and it is, to be able to have access to these cars in such perfect quality. You just don't see this generation X5 hardly on the road at all, and certainly when you do, not in good condition, might I add. But this thing is looking minty fresh. Holy smokes, it looks brand new in here. No squeaks, no rattles, maintained from new, from BMW Museum, BMW Group Classic, and absolutely amazing. Look at this. No automatic headlights. The old school perfect gauges in this thing. Love it. The original BMW monitor. And then, of course, children can be killed or injured by airbag. Wow, no headliner droop. This is just absolutely incredible. The key is right in here. So let's take a look. Love the old school key from this generation. Wow, it's only got 875 miles on it. Are you kidding me? What? That's absolutely amazing. And we will shut air conditioning off. Let's just... Man, the V8 fires right up. It's still cold on temperature. Wow, that is absolutely incredible. We've got, yep, the Neiman Marcus E53 Impala Brown. Holy smokes. Is there a window sticker in here somewhere? There's gotta be. I think I have one online, actually. I can overlay. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. Is this the tape? Yes, this is the original tape deck that came with Enjoying Your New X5, still in the original wrapping. Oh, this is the stuff I dream about. This is so cool. We can select, I don't think these were touchscreens. I'm pretty sure they were they touchscreen? No. How do you select? No, that's volume. Maybe hit 6. Gosh, I'm like so don't remember how to use this thing. It's definitely not touchscreen. Anyway. Look at me. Mr. EV tech guy doesn't know how to use this rudimentary old school system. Love this. No dead pixels anywhere in this car. This is absolutely an incredible opportunity to have a go in such a fresh, basically brand new E53 X5 4.4. And this is one of the very, very, very first ones, a very early car. So let's have a go. Well, you joined me in the Neiman Marcus X5, and I actually got something wrong. I don't know if I'll cut it out the intro or not, but oh, they also have a 4.8 IS here. Hell yeah, that's what we're gonna drive next. That's awesome. The 4.4 Neiman Marcus edition was catalog only. They only built 50 of these. I thought it was the very first run, so I thought this was a 99 X5, but it's actually 2001. Should be almost identical, just basically a fully spec'd car, $57,000 back in the day. And the most impressive thing to me about all of this actually is just the way everything has aged. All the BMW stuff starts to get creaky and plasticky, but they all have this same smell. Smells great, but this car literally feels showroom new. And, you know, I was too young to remember what these cars really were like back in period, but it is so cool as someone who watched the BMW films and, you know, of course, rode around in the back of one of these to school when I was younger, to really be able to enjoy this generation of cars. So anyway, let's take it out just for a quick drive and see what the heck happens.
Hi, Kyle.
Hey there.
494. Thank you, Kyle.
Yep, of course. And off we go. Of course, just letting the engine temperature come up, factoring in this car's not even out of break-in period, and it's 23 years old. That is amazing to think about, and what a great opportunity it is to come out. You know, old school BMW power steering, quite heavy. Oh, these are the experiences I totally live for. This is amazing. So just go gentle throttle as we come out. That nice BMW torque curve pulling us along. Oh, the old X5s. So this was so cool because it totally transformed a company into, you know, this and the X3, I guess, launched around the same time, but it transformed BMW into just this mass offering of variants and different products beyond just sports sedans and luxury sedans. Now you can have off-road capability and four-wheel drive. And, you know, they offered this car. Did they ever do the E53 as a rear drive? I'm not sure they did, but certainly later X5s got rear drive and people just wanted to drive a bigger, taller vehicle. But this was part of the craze, along with the Mercedes ML, of this German SUV that handles well. It didn't have to have the compromise of body on frame, rides like crap, handles like crap. This was an SUV that drove like a car, but it also had a split tailgate, and it also had, you know, four-wheel drive. And it is a real treat to be able to put some miles on and drive this 2001 example. I'm also really looking forward to driving the 4.8 IS because not only did my mom have an E53 3-liter, my dad had an E53 4.8 IS, and his was a little ratty. He had a little bit too many miles on it, and I remember transmission had to get rebuilt, and there were some issues. So I'm hoping the one that they brought along is minty mint. But we've got hill descent control, DSC, park distance control, all of the old BMW things you would expect back in the day. And what a cruiser this thing absolutely is. I'm going to drive it around a little bit, just get it warmed up. Maybe we'll try a little acceleration, nothing crazy, because again, BMW didn't give us any rules. I'm sure they wouldn't care if we drove it hard, but it's not about performance. It's just a really unique opportunity to drive this old, you know, X5, and I don't want to beat on it or anything. This isn't meant to be a review. It's just you experiencing what BMW was with me now here in South Carolina at the factory. What an amazing experience. Oh, this is so great. Let's get up to speed here, use some of that power, just roll into it a little bit. A little clicking coming from the engine. I don't want to be too hard on it. Some clicking happening. I don't know if it's lifters or what's going on with the Valvetronic system, if it even has any of the Vanos things. I'm not totally sure. But it sounds good under light load. It's just rolling into it, you know, 50% throttle. There was something going on up there. Other than that, the only thing I've found wrong with this car is the steering wheel motor doesn't come in and out. But literally, other than those two things, this thing feels fresh. And it's probably good for it to get some highway miles and get, you know, all the seals cycled through. I'm sure this thing's just been started and inched and started and inched, and it's really great to get it out in the museum and get it driving. Let's you know, cycle them through. Cars hate to sit for a long time, so you're welcome, BMW, for putting some miles and elongating the life of your Neiman Marcus 1 of 50 catalog only BMW X5 4.4s. What a great experience. We'll turn around and head back as we cycle through the X5 lineup. But what an experience this must have been to drive the X5 when it was new. I mean, this car even today still feels modern. It's got a great feeling brake pedal, has amazing feeling steering. The car feels so solid and feels like it could handle really anything. It's not quite a Range Rover vibe of ready to go off-road, but can pull this over into S and let it rev out a little bit. A little bit more throttle. Damn, it's fast. Force a manual upshift there, just so we didn't rev it all the way out in break-in period. Wow, this is a serious vehicle, and this is what gave BMW, in my mind, this generation, the E39 M5, the E53 X5, especially the spicier trims, this performance with high quality character that we know and love so much from the brand, that I fear they might be losing. They might be losing this. The new cars, they're not. It's not this. It's not this. This is great. This is the era of BMW I love. Anyway, see you back at the Performance Center as we swap X5s and go into the 4.8 IS. Now it's time to take out this absolutely gorgeous 4.8 IS. Of course, this is one of the later cars, clear taillights, sort of an LCI. There was a 4.6 IS that was before this car, but then they went to the 4.8, which seemingly were just more reliable overall. And these are really kind of close to what should have been an X5M before the M was a thing. And yeah, great memories of my dad's car. Actually, I remember when I was in maybe high school, my dad had one of these, and I made him put on we took the resonator out of the exhaust. And on this channel, one of the most viewed videos, I don't know, at least there's a video on this channel of my dad's 4.8 IS where I was revving it in front of our garage, listening to the awesome engine sound. And this was an air suspension car. You can see it has the up and down arrows right here and had the newer updated nav. And wow, smells totally different than the Neiman Marcus car we were in. This one has the Alcantara seats, which I've never really seen before. The blue accents. So this is fully optioned. Got someone curbed it. Oh no. Sad to see that, but just great. Just great. That doesn't get better than this. All right, let's go for a drive, and maybe a little bit sportier of a drive in this one, because that's what this car was really intended to be, sort of ultimate SUV performance from the time period. And wow, what a great experience it has to go here with oil temp right on the dash, the light faces here behind the gauges. Absolutely amazing. So driving the 4.8 IS now. This is a 2005 car. 72 grand this thing was back then. Wow. That's a lot of money, but you really got to think of it as like the M Performance variant. And forgive me for not knowing all the specs, all the stats. I want to say this was like low 5 seconds 0 to 60, mid 300 horsepower. I think it was 355 horsepower. Let's start it up. So key on, let everything wake up. 2,364 miles on this one. Fires right up. Wow. You have the rev counter with the red line that changes, and I know how to use this controller system here. The old one here, we can go with the GPS navigation menu and put everything in, or we can go to the onboard computer and it will tell us it's 57 degrees outside. Also, no pixels missing in this one, but yes, it has sort of the M version. So an oil temperature gauge, a variable red line based off of engine temperature, which is great. Automatic headlights now, what modern technology has come. And I'm pretty sure 06 was the last year for the E53, if I remember correctly, before we went to the E70. So, damn. This is such a pinch me kind of day to be able to experience these cars. Now, of course, I love that BMW stores and keeps their vehicles in the classic collection, so this is just absolutely wonderful. Let's see if the steering wheel will move on this one. Yes, it absolutely will. And we just get all adjusted and then we'll go for a drive. This one's up to temperature, oil temps pretty much almost to center. So we can start having some fun with this thing. Someone else has been driving it into drive and off we go. This time the shifter is in the correct orientation, sporty. You pull back to upshift, push forward to downshift. Steering surprisingly much lighter than the Neiman Marcus car. For some reason I remembered these having the same weight of steering back when I was driving my dad's car and everything. But either way, we got to check this one out, make sure we're good to go. All right, we are off in the 4.8 IS. What a special machine. And yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough where I've driven every generation of X5 already, but never here on one video, never back to back, and certainly never cars that have been maintained as well or that that are as fresh as these. I mean, good luck finding one of these with under 100,000 miles on it now that's not been completely clapped out. So let's just get up to speed, get used to this thing. It drives so great. Oh my gosh. A lot of torque converter slip, I remember that as well. And then it gets into high gear and locks up. Just that grumble from that engine's amazing. Dual overhead cam, Vanos, all the stuff you would expect here now in modern, almost modern, quite engineering. This is really where it got good before we went to turbocharging. And certainly the early years of BMW turbocharging have not aged well. Oil consumption issues, seals issues, I mean, just problems. And here we can see a truck of brand new X5s and X3s, which this is very similar to the new X3 size, leaving the factory fresh. So it's so cool to be here. One of my favorite places, BMW plant Spartanburg. Been lucky enough to come here over the years and do so many interesting things and programs, and man, driving this is really nice. Really nice. This is going to make me want one if you can find a fresh one. The problem is, if you want something this fresh, this is like an G05 enthusiast auto group. They just seemingly collect the best, craziest BMWs out there and then just charge an arm and a leg for it. But they're worth it. I mean, this is an EAG car. Now, thankfully, BMW holds on to these and I get an experience to drive them and to bring you along with me for the drive, because it is unlike anything else to be able to drive these cars back to back that are so fresh. So yeah, the 4.8 IS, I'm trying to remember why I convinced my dad to get one of these. I was so hot on this thing. I mean, I loved the X5. I always loved the split tailgate. I loved its real off-road capability when you put some tires on it. It had great, brake-based torque vectoring. It had good drivetrain logic with X-Drive. Everything about the capabilities really impressed me, along with the on-road performance and watching car reviews of the time and seeing what that thing can do in the early days of YouTube, watching people do stupid stuff with them, and I was just always so impressed with the car. So the aura of the X5 for me was always pretty high up there. I've always been a BMW enthusiast, and so I was like, when it came time for my dad to get a car, he always had cool cars. He had like an E60 M5, some other stuff. Now, of course, he has his own YouTube channel, Out of Spec Dave. But somehow I convinced him to buy this 4.8 IS, and it was a high mileage New York car, kind of beat up. And I just remember everything breaking being my fault. He's like, well, you told me to get this car and now the transmission's gone, or something catastrophic had happened to it. It was blowing blue smoke, all the telltales of don't buy a car. Let's just roll into it a little bit here. Quieter than the Neiman Marcus 4.4, actually. I didn't expect that. And I forgot how lazy the transmission tuning was in drive. You really got to kick it into S for it to get moving. But this car was almost, I think, around 155 mile an hour car, SUV. And at the time, it's just like, this thing was built to boogie and absolutely handle. It had bigger brakes, different suspension, those wide fenders. That's what sold me on this car. It was the wide exhaust tips that, had the single port almost looking exhaust tip, not the dual exit of the 4.4. And I remember my mom got the inline six one of these. I always hated the single exhaust pipes that came out the back. I was like, man, look at all of our neighbors. They have the quad tips. They got the 4.4. And then when my dad got the 4.8 IS, we had made it. That was the car. I'm gonna kick the shifter over into the S profile now, and we're going to give it a full rip up to speed just to see how this thing is at maximum chat. Let's nail it. Man, revs out, shifts great. Hell yeah. Staying in it. Damn. Still has power. I mean, this thing is just awesome. It never feels crazy stressed back into the drive profile. Oh, I absolutely love this car. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I gotta keep a search filter on a fresh one of these, because there's just something about this being dialed in, one of the final model years of this chassis, feeling so sorted. The problem is they just don't age well. They just do not age well, and this car does. Oh, I wish I could have this one. Good horn. All of the controls here on the wheel. Perfect ergonomics and seating position. You just can't match this thing. So, damn, BMW knew and knows how to build a good product, but this is just core of X5. This is what the legacy was built on for me in my head. And what an experience it is to chuck it into that corner. Just have some fun with it. So thanks for joining me for the 4.8 IS drive. Let's drive some more BMW X5s, but this for me is the true highlight, I'm sure. What an experience. All right, guys, well, we're moving on from the E53 generation to the second generation of X5, the E70, and this one is a 50i, really nice spec car, pretty high spec vehicle as well, and this one only has 400 miles on it. Forgive some of the wind here as we're going around the car, but wow, absolutely another amazing opportunity. Loved the sport pack on these. You get the wide fender, the freaking juicy rear tires. This was the talk of the town back then. We always went up to Vermont for skiing, and of course we had a home up there, and everyone that got this generation of X5 was just struggling with wintertime because of these massive rear tires. I remember that being a real topic of conversation among my parents and their friends who were all buying this generation X5 at the time. But to me, this is we had a lot of great memories. I've done a lot of miles in this generation X5. My good friend Ben, his mom and dad had a diesel X5, and it was right when we were in college, and I want to say he would borrow it sometimes, and we'd go for long road trips in the X5 diesel, and it was just an amazing mile muncher. I can't say, I don't actually think I've ever driven a 50i. Maybe I have driven a V8 one of these. I had worked at a BMW dealer for a while, so I've had a lot of opportunities, but wow, this one's spec'd with the leather dash. Oh, that is cool. The split glove box, also so cool. And the key, this was now getting into the E90 generation of like 3 Series, and this here with the newer sort of iDrive stuff, the next generation. I have to look up what year this exact car is. Probably a 2013, I think. Does it say? I'll look. Something in my head makes me think this is a 2013, but let's see if it has keyless start. It does, and she's on. Let's kill the audio. Wow, it's got all the buttons. It's got the massaging seat button. I think that's what that is, right? It's got the heated and cooled seat, and you can do both at the same time. This is a nice spec one. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's the massage. No way. Is it? It's got the extended thigh support coming out, electronic, really lots of stuff. Love the gauges on this one. This one's even got the lane centering. It's got heated steering wheel. Oh, that's cool. It's like lane departure at greater than 40 miles an hour. This tech was so cool back in the day, and it was all optional, and no one ever got it. Has a head-up display. Check that out. I don't even know if it'll show up on camera. Barely. Oh, wow. Can't wait to have a go in this one. So let's go in the E70 generation X5 and have some fun. I hope you guys are enjoying this video, because I'm actually giving up realistic work I should be doing. I should be driving the Rolls-Royce Spectre for a video, the Mini Cooper SE Countryman all-4 thing. I mean, I should be covering electric cars, but this is all I care about. This is, you know, I could drive those anytime. You don't get access to these often. I love that I can adjust the backrest and sort of scallop it in, something BMW still does that started in this generation of car. You can adjust everything. And I did check, this car is a 2013, which is the final year of this generation car. And steering wheel adjustment works perfectly. Wow. Wow. This is so neat to be able to drive a new one. I love the shifter, the tall electronic shifter. It freaked everyone out. It has the sport mode button down there. Let's go into drive. I remember everyone not figuring out how this shifter worked back in the day. It was the most confusing thing. This was like the start of the shifter nightmare, where now every automaker has a crazy way of shifting into drive. None of them make any sense whatsoever. It has the proper turn signals that return to center. That also freaked everyone out. Variable ratio steering in this one too. That is such a cool thing. This one's optioned up. Hey there. Thank you. These people here are so nice. They're just like, yeah, do whatever you want with the cars. That's crazy. This car's 431 miles on it. It will be in the BMW collection, I'm sure, forever. And here I am driving it. Again, another pinch yourself. I know it just seems like an X5, but you have to understand just how special these cars are to the brand. I don't think they hold on to very many of these cars, kind of just one of everything. So off we go then. Gentle accelerations. A buddy of mine was just driving this, so we don't need to really let it warm up. He said he ripped on it. Man, first time turbocharging in the X5 as well. This is a turbocharged V8. These do not age very well, I'm sad to say. Talk about a reliability nightmare. This generation of car certainly is. But to drive one that's fresh, oh man, it definitely goes to show. I hope there's a few preserved out there. We were just looking online to find the lowest mileage V8 of one of these for sale in the entire country has 86,000 miles. This one, 431 miles on it. It's just, oh, I can't get over it. So the E70 X5, the second generation, in my opinion, maybe a lot shared with the E53. I mean, some of the switch gear, some of the stuff was carryover, but the ethos of the car sort of remained the same, but it definitely got more livable, more power, more on-road presence, more fun to drive, and certainly with this variable ratio steering, it was the first time that new technology was coming into this generation. And yeah, I can feel it buzz the wheel as I hit the line. How about that? That was wild back in the day. It also has adaptive cruise control, which was also wild back in the day. Can we put it on? There we go. 51 miles an hour. This is a dream of mine. I had watched every German, you know, explaining video, graphical, whatever, on their driver assistance system, and I don't think I've ever experienced the lane centering back from this generation of BMW before. Of course, it was before my time reviewing cars. Let's see if it works. I'm going to put the speed to 70, and we're just following at much lower than 70 miles an hour this truck in front of us. How cool is that? It's been a dream to experience these technologies because, you know, every X5 of this generation that I ever found just never had the options. People went, you know, pretty basic spec, but this was at the time when adaptive cruise control was bad and lane centering's bad, and now it's kind of a requirement for many people to have these types of technology on their vehicles. But the quietness of the car, the suppleness of the ride, the refinement has gone up. Of course, the tech has gone up. It has the full iDrive system now, which I absolutely love, this iDrive system. And this is on the latest one, being a 2013 from this generation. So it actually had the connected services, and it would download new maps. It would download weather data. It would, you know, basically set the standard for even systems that we use today, in a sense. Let's just get into it a little bit, rolling up here. Feel the turbo spool. Oh, wow. Great smooth shifting. Unbelievably powerful at the time. This must have been, electric cars today have completely ruined us from a powertrain perception standpoint, but just the torque that this thing makes is awesome. So cool. So there is a sport button here below the shifter. I don't know if this car had adaptive damper or even air suspension. It may have been an option, but I don't think this car is optioned with the air suspension. It is so cool that it will tell you when you're hitting the line going around the corner. There, the steering wheel just buzzed, but it doesn't seem to push you back in. I was just trying to see if it would, like, you know, push you in, essentially. And the later generation of these went from the amber running lights, the angel eyes, to the white sort of running lights. And I always thought that looked amazing, the factory bright white lights. I don't really like the look of the older ones upgraded. I always think keep them classically amber, or just, you know, incandescent bulb looking. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to giving it the beans, ripping it up the road here. I'm going to put the shifter over into S mode, so DS. Brake pedal feels great. That adaptive steering is pretty wild, actually. And full beans. Wow. Damn, the shifts are awesome. Dang, this thing boogies. This is fast for modern standards, too. Oh, wow. And, you know, it's not that old. 2013 isn't that long ago. Wait, does this one have the rear screen? Are you kidding me? Oh, look at that. It flips around. It's got the rear screen. Cool. Oh, the spec on this with the leather dash that's just in perfect condition. Throw the car back into comfort. Oh, it's amazing. So this generation of X5, this is when all the technology came in. This is when all the unreliability came in, if we're honest. But this is where, okay, BMW really started to learn that it's not just about producing a car, metal and bar and combustion engine, but it really matters to be a technology company. And I still think they've been trying to, you know, during this time period, I would almost argue they were a technology leader. They were the leader in variable ratio steering, in drivetrain and transmission technologies, in connected car iDrive situations. Some of this stuff no one had been doing, and they were right at the forefront of the tech. And then the electric car revolution happened, and, you know, not to be that guy, then Tesla happened and just leapfrogged everyone with over-the-air updates, app connectivity, constantly, you know, integrating with your life in such a great way. And BMW has fallen behind, no question. Now, with Neue Klasse coming, I'm hoping they can catch back up and maybe regain that leadership position that they had at the time of this vehicle. But I think what's really important is that they make durable, long-lasting products, because this generation has left, you know, the feeling of depreciation, of of just cars not of being disposable items, if you will. This feels amazing, and I don't think you could buy one anywhere in the world that feels as fresh and as nice as this car does. But I bet even some of the higher mileage E53s still feel pretty good. Just my impression of the situation, that, you know, technology did not increase durability and longevity. I think we all know that pretty well. I think electric has the possibility to bring back some of the real long-lasting, hardy vehicles, and I hope BMW is on that train. Anyway, that is the X5 50i from 2013, the E70 generation. What a treat it is to drive one of the final ones with such low mileage. Thank you, BMW. And now we move on to the F15 next. I went to come check back here because, of course, it has the built-in DVD system. It's got all the switches and the DVD player and the aux jacks. I've never actually seen this before in person. That is such a cool option set there, for sure. And after a fantastic drive with the fans still running, which they always did when you drove them a little hard, but I gave it plenty of cool down time, we are now moving on to the third generation X5, the F15. This one actually is not a V8, so this is the first non-V8 X5 here, but of course they did offer a very similar technical update to this engine here. I think it was the N63 TU, but my memory, I don't know, it's been a while since I've been in the BMW world, but I used to sell and work at a BMW dealership and a Mini dealership, and this was the generation of X5 that was sort of my time. So it had the LED headlights, this one optioned with the M Sport. Actually, funny story, we named our company out of spec, thankfully, and actually in response. Well, I don't even know what to say. We named it because of this generation X5, maybe are the words I'm looking for. And the reason was a customer of mine ordered an X5, and it had halogen headlights on it, or at least the base headlights. Maybe it was xenon at the time of this generation. And I was like, man, that's like everything else is so great on that spec, and the headlights are just out of spec. And we're like, oh, great name. And actually, my buddy Ben came up with the name for out of spec. The same Ben that we did all the diesel X5 stuff with over there. So this one's optioned nicely. This one's a 2018 car, not a V8. This one's the inline six, which they also offered a turbocharged inline six in the E70 generation. The early cars were all NA, and then they went to turbocharging halfway through the life cycle of the E70. But here the F chassis cars really represented a major shift into the future of, you know, the next generation of BMWs. And I would say a lot of what's in this particular X5 is what carries through to what we even see today. I mean, certainly we are in the G chassis, the G class of cars now. However, the F chassis cars, these things have lasted a long time and really set the standard for quality and connectivity, especially at the time. I'm not going to open the door right now just because my hands are full, but let's jump in this thing and go for a drive. Jumping in this generation X5, I would say things just got a bit softer in this generation, more luxurious, digital gauges, much more modern, what we're used to seeing, of course, in cars today. And these things are still on the road. It's still quite popular to see these generation X5s out there. And, you know, I think especially after the early turbocharging days there, the TUs and these vehicles were a bit more reliable. I'm not here to say they were a lot more reliable, but definitely a bit more. Start it right up, man. 5,700 miles on this one. This one's been driven. Crazy to think that that's the highest mileage X5 we've been in all day. But these cars are just familiar to me. The button placement, the everything here, all of this is just feels like home. This one optioned with the sport automatic transmission, and right, you had active profiles, you had the sort of newest version of iDrive at the time. When this came out, this was such a huge deal because it went from the layered approach that we saw in that generation. The early cars here, the pre-LCI version of these, also had a very similar iDrive to that car, but then this really brought in BMW, I think, almost losing its way with infotainment, and just things were not as cohesive, not as easy to understand. And yeah, this for me is when it kind of started to go downhill from a connectivity perspective. This car optioned with adaptive cruise control here as well. Now, of course, you can get full assisted driving with lane centering. But as that Spectre is leaving, that's what I really should be driving for a video. Let's go for a drive in the F15 X5 and see how this thing does. Well, you join me now in the newer generation F15 X5 M Sport. This one a 35i, being the turbocharged twin power turbo when they started to use that nomenclature. Actually, maybe that came a bit earlier, but anyway, we're in this car, and I'm keeping the forward-facing GoPro off just for now, just for a minute. This one's not fully optioned, no variable speed assist steering on this one. Wow, you got to crank the wheel. And yeah, let's just check out here, and then we'll hit the road. Hello. Okay, yep. And yeah, I'm just keeping this one off because it's reached 3% charge, and I'd like for you guys to see the acceleration portion, but we got to let this thing warm up a little bit anyway, so we'll go out. So yeah, this is when X5 started to get more, you know, certainly it was always mom car-ish. Now it got real mom car, more luxurious in the sense where a lot more functionality, a lot wider. This thing just feels like a next class up in terms of size. Every generation of X5 really has grown, is my understanding. And certainly the calibration, the tuning just got so much better. The what do we have? Active blind spot detection malfunction. Oh boy, we have an issue with this one. Yeah, but this is when BMW really started to take like luxury, a little bit edge off the sportiness pretty seriously. Of course, you could option this up and get an X5M, and this generation X5M I still think is my favorite. And actually, if I had to buy an X5, I think this would be the generation I would buy. To me, they look the best. This F15 generation with the M Sport rear flares, like this spec here, still one of the best looking SUVs ever on the road. Again, ergonomics are amazing. This is the perfect steering wheel in the business. And maybe, again, it's a nostalgic thing for me. I don't know why I can't get on with the new cars as much, but just this whole wheel, everything about this just feels so great. And of course, all of these were built right here at Plant Spartanburg, right? Literally end of line, right over there. Absolutely an amazing experience. Seats were great, but this is when the options list started to get crazy. So you could option, again, rear drive, all-wheel drive, inline 6, V8, and then V8M if you wanted to. In different markets, they offered diesel. We also got a diesel in this, and this was also the first generation of X5 that offered a plug-in hybrid. So that was 2014, I think it was, when the X5 40E came out. And man, that used the N24 cylinder engine in the X5. And really just, I don't think it was very good. It had a slow onboard charger, didn't have much electric power, and I'm hearing of some of the battery costs to repair on those, and doesn't sound great. But again, you only hear the worst stories online, so maybe in reality they are great. If you've had a good ownership experience, I think a lot of our viewers on Out of Spec especially came from plug-in hybrids. I wonder if any of you have had an X5 plug-in hybrid. If you have, certainly comment below and let me know what you think about that experience. But this car still feels modern today. I mean, if they sold this car, it would still do well. And I will tell you a story about how this car is still modern here in a moment, because there's a funny afterlife to this generation X5 that happened. Let's see if we can get this camera on so I can show you some of the forward-facing view. Sometimes these things freeze, or maybe it is just completely dead. Oh no! Oh no, well, I'll at least show you the gauge cluster here. I'll do it manually so you can at least get a sense of the acceleration. So gentle acceleration on the first one, as we have been doing most of the day. I would move over for these guys, but there's certainly a car coming up, so can't do that. That great inline 6 sound. Don't really need much more than that. That was the thing. The inline 6s of these were always pretty powerful, and then they went up to, of course, the V8s, which in this generation got a power bump, and the X5Ms were just crazy. So as we're just cruising on the highway now, and I can hit set. Wait, let's think about this. I gotta turn on the adaptive cruise control system, but there's a way. That one, set. There we go. This is all my generation BMW. Wow, feels good to be back in one of these things, and especially in one that's as fresh as this one. Just so many good memories in these cars. So the funny story about these living a second life. VinFast bought the rights to this generation X5, powertrain and chassis. Maybe not powertrain, actually. Maybe just the chassis electronics. Anyway, they did a deal with BMW where BMW basically sold them this X5. And then they put a General Motors V8 in it, and it's called the VinFast President. And that's what's on sale. I don't know if they still sell them today, but at least up until recently they did. All right, now we're gonna go full sport mode. So we have actual driving modes now, so Sport and Sport Plus. We'll put the transmission into S mode, so not only are we in Sport Plus, the transmission's in S. So we're fully dialed up. I'm gonna switch to this camera view so you can see S1, Sport Plus, everything's good to go. We're gonna wait for this car to come through, and then we'll give it the full rip as we get up to speed. So no variable ratio steering in this one. And let's go full throttle. A little hesitation on the shift, but still feels almost as fast as the V8s we were just in. Definitely accelerates great in this one, and we'll go back into normal, comfort mode. This one has almost 6,000 miles on it, so I don't feel too bad about ripping on it. But what's interesting to me is this feels faster than the old 4.8 IS from the first generation X5 that we drove. I think the previous V8 definitely has a little bit more kick than this one, but there is just something so nice, so supple about this generation X5, and these you can still find pretty clean for a steal of a deal, as long as they've been maintained well. Still may have to do some valve issues, some seals in the engine. I mean, that's just BMW engines for you, but the N55 that powers this one is a great engine. And yeah, I just, for me, this feels like home. This just feels like a great car with great technology that's modern enough, and you can find them for a steal on the secondhand market. It's the previous generation X5. It's not that old. So now we're going to jump from this to the current generation, and what's important to me is to see if we can find any link. Is there any notable characteristics or attributes about the G series X5, the new one, compared with the Neiman Marcus X5 that's right over there? And now we move on to the G05 generation. Now we're not driving the BMW hydrogen vehicle here. This is the iX5 hydrogen fuel cell, but I have driven this vehicle for a video on the Out of Spec Reviews channel, so you can check it out. We talk about the Toyota collaboration to make the fuel cell and stack work. It was pretty interesting, and the electric motors that power this one in general. So yeah, this is the hydrogen iX5, but we are going to go drive the facelift version of the G05. This is the pre-LCI. We are going to take the LCI out, but these, they built about, I don't know, 100 plus or minus of these, kind of hand built in a secret lab in Munich, which was cool. One thing that we should mention is for this generation, there was also a long wheelbase available, and it was built in China at the local production there. And I think it was the G16. But yes, we don't have that one here. We just have the US cars here. So yep, you can tell this is not a US spec, no orange side marker here. This is a Euro spec version, but still pretty cool. Non-sunroof X5 hydrogen. I've got the video already on my channel. This is the pre-LCI. Let's go drive the Life Cycle Impulse. And then here we have the current generation. We've got 4 in a row, the G05 X5. These are what's called the Anniversary Edition, Silver Anniversary Edition. And they have an off-road pack. This one's equipped with the $10,000 off-road package, which is super cool. I think we should take one of those. Comes with a bunch of stuff, diff locks, cool freaking all-terrain tires, although I can't imagine those are OE. Are these the OE tire on this thing? A General Grabler AT? That's the OE tire. That's so sick. Anyway, trying to lean back into its off-road cred. Not sure they can do it. There is an off-road course here. Would be kind of interesting to try it out. But here we have, again, the post-LCI Life Cycle Impulse, what they call the refresh. They call LCI. Let's go for a drive in the newest one and finish up our X5 series. You can see now jumping in this sort of indicative of the latest generation BMW styling, the culmination of everything that's happened. But even then, this has welcome Mini. Someone got confused there. Even then, this is starting to feel a little bit old with some Neue Klasse stuff coming out. I mean, this generation of car has been out for quite some time now. The typical toggle shifter. Sorry for the cables everywhere. The GoPros had died, as I mentioned. But now it's time to go out for a drive in this thing and see how the new X5 does. Hate the steering wheel. I missed the old M Sport wheel from the previous gen. So much better. And now you guys join me in the latest generation, the G05 LCI off-road pack version. This thing's like 80 grand, and it's just the inline 6. Cars have gotten expensive, I guess inflation, you could say. But this isn't even like totally fully spec'd. It is spec'd with air suspension, which is unusual and rare, so I can go up and down some levels. So that's pretty cool. I don't think I've actually ever driven one of these on air suspension, so that'll be a neat experience. I've got cables everywhere, but that's okay. We can get them out of the way. And, you know, this is the newer generation of BMW, so it has the newer iDrive 8.5 or 9, where, you know, a lot of similar, you can tell how they got to this point, but this is clearly a next generation of infotainment and software. The chassis CLAR on this, so it's a rear drive based platform. Again, they do offer a rear drive variant, I think from the 2020 model year onwards, and we're in drive. Some fundamental disagreements that I have right off the bat is they are clearly focused on efficiency more than the driving stuff. So like, let me just put it back in park, because there's one thing that really tells the picture here. We're driving a combustion X5. The Neiman Marcus 4.4 car, that was the 2001 car, but very representative of a first generation X5. Nice tachometer, nice speedometer. Every generation, tach and speedometer right there up front. Here, no more tachometer. Unless I go into sport mode, which of course I can do, and then it changes to 1, but the round dials are gone. Which to me round gauges make all the difference in the world. Also, the dial that shows on the display here is a power percentage meter, not a RPM gauge. Makes sense for an electric car, but not for a combustion car. Anyway, let's head out in the off-road pack on the all-terrains. Really slow steering rack. Still can't get over that variable ratio that we had back in the E70 generation, the second generation X5 that was spec'd with that. You can still spec stuff like that on this car, but let's check out here. Hello, it's Kyle Connor.
Yes, and then 3. All right.
Thank you. Auto start stop, extremely smooth for this generation now. Mild hybrid, plug-in hybrid available in this generation. I believe you can get a mild hybrid at least. This one might even be. There's my buddy Miles. If you want to check out cool POV driving miles per hour, it's a cool little event BMW's put on for all of us car nerds here today. He's driving a nice M4 CS. And I've got, you know, just so many apps and menus and things in this car. Just the complication of operating this has gone up. So you need to have an understanding of what all these buttons do and everything going on, which I think is okay. I'm a car nerd. I love tech, but to me, it just seems like some of the cohesiveness has been lost. A lot of things feel like they're in here just to check the box to say, okay, does this car have this? Yes, put it in, make it 30 menus deep, make it hard to find. And I think this is maybe where BMW has lost a little bit of its way. So now that we're out in the new X5, let's first talk about, is there anything here that feels like it's carried over from the previous generations? Well, I actually have to say there seems like quite a bit. The greenhouse, the seating position, the overall market position of the car as a luxury SUV, typically 5-seater, now available, of course, in 7-seater from the previous generation to this one. It feels like it's retained everything it needs to do well. Clamshell rear tailgate, which is awesome. It's got you know, great seating position and great quality. I mean, that is one thing. All of these cars do feel extremely high quality, at least when new. At least when new. And I'm pretty certain that the current generation X5 is almost the weakest in terms of its performance characteristics compared with some of the market. It's going up against, you know, comparatively Rivian R1S that can make 1,000 horsepower now, or even, you know, for 70 grand, for 10 grand less than this, you can get a Rivian R1S with just as much off-road cred, just as much on-road presence, and you're spending less money than this car new. So I think some of the electric competition has almost removed some of the relevance of X5, at least in our market. It's dinging at me because of the speed limit thing over and over. I wonder if I can go in here to driver assistance and turn safety and warnings. Warning tone. Speed warning is off. What? Everything's off. Why are you dinging at me? That kind of stuff is what I'm talking about. So, you know, when the X5 was clearly the market leader, it was like that and Cayenne and Mercedes ML and you know, just like the real hardcore. Some of the electric competition, Lucid Gravity comes to mind. Even vehicles like Hyundai Santa Fe, I think I've stolen some of the X5 thunder, because the new Santa Fe is premium, it's big, it's quite feature rich for a significant bargain of a price over this one. And I think just the percentage of new X5s I see on the road certainly have gone down. Range Rovers have gotten a little bit more sportier, a little bit more fun to drive. And so its market position, it's had to compete with a lot more vehicles than it used to have to. And that's not to say it hasn't done well. The sales numbers for X5 still remain strong, but it's not like it's on a massive trajectory upwards. Leaning into the throttle a little bit here, now using the B58 engine, one of the best new engines on sale, just a absolute powerhouse in terms of tuning capability and reliability and noise and feel. It's a fantastic engine. And so BMW still, their engine development is absolutely amazing. I wish their electric development was also up there. Maybe it will be for Neue Klasse, which I really hope so. This car also bringing into effect the adaptive driving. It says only cruise control is available. Wonder why. But it does have active steering as an option, and adaptive cruise, all that good stuff now in the current generation X5. But this car does feel like it's time for a real refresh to make it new. And So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of here that's similar, but maybe the X5 hasn't evolved as much as it really needed to, in my opinion. Let's go into sport mode. So we're gonna go sport individual, configure individual, damping, sport. Whoops, we gotta like do this all one by one. Steering sport, drivetrain sport, no sport plus on this one, interestingly. I wonder why this person's standing out here in the middle of the road. Don't know what's going on. But let's see if we can make a U-turn here. And we're gonna go, yeah, everything in maxed out sporty sport mode, transmission in S, and off we go then. So let's make our U-turn here. And full power. Damn, the B58 rips. It feels slower than even the last X5 35i. I don't know why. It could be the tires. Certainly less engaging, more removed, and ultimately more comfortable, but maybe less substantial. I don't know what to really think about all of this. I think driving the early cars, that was the essence of BMW, driving that first generation Neiman Marcus car and the 4.8 IS especially, just being an absolute special machine. And then you can jump up to the X5 M60 version of the current generation. That gives you the Motorsport V8 now, the S63 TU, I think. And then you can also get that in the X5M, which is an absolute monster. But now we're getting up to the, you know, quite a high cost, over $100,000 for a nicely spec'd X5 now. And there's just so much competition that used to not be there. I mean, X5 used to be the default choice. It was clearly better than an XC90, clearly better than other 3-row or 2-row SUVs on the market. And now I'm just not seeing them advance at a pace to keep up with at least the American SUV offerings that are out there. I mean, I know so many X5 owners that, you know, during the Tesla craze, especially over the last 5 years, have switched to Model X or have switched to, yeah, one of them even got an EV9. Our friend Nick traded in his X5 plug-in hybrid for an EV9. And it's like, yes, they offer a great plug-in hybrid. The new X5 50e is a fantastic powertrain, fantastic car, but it's expensive. So, there you have it. That's our X5 lineup. The older cars certainly are special, and it created what BMW, I think what a lot of people feel about BMW today is from the previous generations of cars. And I'm not sure the cars today are invoking as much emotion as BMW wants them to. That's my impression. But as a BMW enthusiast, you give me an X5, you give me this car, I still love it. Still makes great power. Still really a high quality driving experience. I love the X5. It really is just tuned unbelievably well. Thanks so much for watching this X5 series and joining me driving every generation. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this from my side. I had no idea I was going to do this today. I showed up and then I saw all these cars parked in the parking lot. I was like, no way, we have to make a video, and here it is. So thanks to BMW USA and the BMW Classic collection, whatever it's called. And thanks for you guys for watching this one. See you in another one again soon. Bye-bye.